Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, or Tank12, how you been calling me. I don't really care. Welcome back to World of Tanks related content, and I have a very weird one for you. They've just released a video on World of Tanks Express and this super test vehicle. It's called the BZ-176. It's a tier 8 heavy tank for the Chinese tech tree or for the Chinese players. And we don't really know if it's a premium or not. I would guess it is a premium tank, but it has some very special kind of things that we should be talking about. At first I thought this was a fake, but everything kind of seems to be real. And I'm not really sure how I should think of this tank. I'm gonna cut right to this chase. There's a new mechanic coming to World of Tanks, and what they're going to be introducing is jet boosters. Now, jet boosters have been used on tanks prior. I think the Soviet Union did try several vehicles with jet boosters, so it's not too far of a foreign concept on vehicles. These jet boosters did allow you to accelerate quickly, even heavy tanks, and I think they did do some trials on the T-54 if I recall correctly. So these jet boosters are historical. Well, they're probably historical prototypes. But I'm not sure if the Chinese did try out any vehicles with jet boosters, since they are quite close to the Soviet Union for a period of time, not the entirety of the 20th century, but it seems to be close that they might have tested out some boosters as well. So what do we have right here? We're gonna go through the gun first, mobility afterwards, and survivability last, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the stats of this vehicle. So this is a gun that we have never seen before. It must be a bigger gun than a 150 millimeter gun because it does 1,100 base damage. So that's going to be quite interesting. The first shell is a high explosive shell, and the second one is a premium high explosive shell, probably a HES shell. You can see that the premium shell does 225 millimeters of penetration, or is able to go through 225 millimeters of armor, and has 800 base damage. That in of itself is already a pretty uncomfortable number for me personally. I think this is going to be a premium, and I'm already scared of these tanks running around in World Tanks. But you know what? We're not going to judge it before we have seen everything. The reload time is 25 seconds. This is not an autoloader. The aim time is 3 seconds, and the dispersion at 100 meters is 0.4. So not a very accurate tank. It will take quite a while to actually aim the gun, but you have 1,100 alpha damage with the 75 millimeters of penetration with the first shell, but 225 with the premium shell. So dispersion and aim time should not be that great if you consider the alpha damage and the caliber of the gun. We don't know the caliber, but it must be above 150 millimeters at least. Gun elevation angle, 11 degrees of gun depression, which is pretty mad if you think about it. 20 degrees of gun elevation. This is supposed to be a Chinese tank, right? It looks like an Abrams. Okay, I've said that enough. I've said that so many times about tanks. Every single tank looks like an Abrams that is kind of like edgy or has some edges to it. Basically, I'm probably the worst tank spotter ever. So you have 30 shells or 30 pieces of ammunition in your tank, so you shouldn't be running out of ammo anytime soon. And what you have is 30 kph moving forward in top speed. Now, if you use the jet boosters, you have 39 kph going forward and only 2 kph going backwards, which obviously makes sense because the jet boosters are at the back and you don't have any jet boosters at the front. So if you jet boost forward and you hold the S key, you must be not a very smart fella. Or I don't know, you could do some really slow pushes around the corner. It would be funny. We'll see. So the horsepower on the engine is only 600. This tank does weigh quite a lot, I think, because the specific power to weight ratio is quite atrocious, 10.5 horsepower per ton. Hull traverse and turret traverse are both okay, not that great for a heavy tank. Number of charges, you can do it 4 times. You can boost 4 times in a game. Each single boost is 10 seconds, so you'll be boosting 10 seconds. I doubt that you can turn off the booster, so if you're boosting, you will be boosting. So yeah, you have to kind of rely on the boosting mechanic to put yourself in a good position and not to run into enemies where you can't kind of slow down because your boosters are working for you. So you have to work with the reverse speed. With going backwards, you can probably kind of try to, only push a little bit further instead of going right next to the enemies. The charge reload, or for a single reload, 5 seconds, so you cannot boost. You cannot have 40 seconds in total of boost time in 1 second or in one session. You'll have to have a 5-second wait time in between every single boost. Survivability wise, this tank has 1550 HP, which is almost kind of the median or the medium for the heavy tanks at tier 8. At least for the Soviet and Chinese ones. Hull armor is quite impressive with 240mm at the front, 152 on the side, so this is going to be a really good side scraping tank, 60 at the back, and turret armor is going to be 250 at the front, 152 on the side, and 60 at the back. What I already can spot is that there's no turret weak spot, no apparent weak spot so far. We're going to be taking a closer look at the tank in the gameplay that What Express has posted. View range is 380 meters, which you can work with for a heavy tank, in my opinion. Signal range, nobody really cares about. So this is a very odd tank. Nobody can say that Wargaming is not trying to create more vehicles, more interesting ones. I'm just not really sure if this is what World of Tanks needs at the moment. But they're trying out. Hopefully in the super test they'll see if it's something that functions or not. It looks really weird, and it might just be another one that is going to be game breaking, because the big problem is just the armor profile for tier 8 heavy. That is the armor profile of a tier 10 tank once again, and I'm worried so far. So let us take a look right here. I'm going to silence the audio. You can see there's a KB4 right there, and this tank is activating the boosters, and you can see the duration of the boost. Here it is 15 seconds or 14. They did say in the super test that it's going to be 10 seconds, but you can see that the boost is basically activated and you have a little symbol, which looks quite nice. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're kind of expecting. If you look at the tank itself, it's quite a small tank in terms of stature. It's not very large. The armor looks it looks very unbalanced at the front. You could see the turret for a second there from the front. There's no apparent weak spot, no apparent cupola. There might be one. Other than that, it looks pretty damn flat. 23 seconds reload time, or 24 seconds. And you can see right here that the armor doesn't have any apparent weak spots at the front or on the turret front. So it's going to be quite an interesting vehicle to fight against. Probably quite atrocious, like the Italian tank destroyers. But what's really interesting, I really want to show you guys, is the acceleration that you get. You can see the acceleration really helps you a lot. He just speeds away from the KB4, and I think this is a different tank, right? I think this is a different tank, because this tank has 14 seconds, right? It looks different from the tank that we have seen right there, because this... No, actually it's the same, sorry. I was just talking nonsense because I didn't see the cage at the back. I thought it was a different tank, but it actually is the same tank. And yeah, it's supposed to be a tier 8 heavy tank that is coming somewhere in the near future. I don't really know what I should think of this. I always do look at World of Tanks content, and I put a little bit of a grain of salt into it. I mix a little bit of salt into it. It's not very nice per se to be always a skeptic and kind of pessimistic, because that's not my nature most of the time. But with Wargaming and World of Tanks, I have serious doubts that this is a good idea at the moment. But that's just my opinion, and my opinion, as I mentioned, could be wrong, but we'll see what the BZ-176 is going to be like. I'm gonna upload this video, and I want to see what the reaction is on this tank, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Tell me, what do you think about the BZ-176? I think 176 is the caliber of the gun. So, I have to restart my PC because I just reinstalled my drivers, and I'll see you guys on our next video. Until then, have a good one.